It is the topic, but what I really want you to have a feeling of this is once you leave, it is actually not just a trend, it's a movement. However, as you can see here with little Kermit and me in a green dress, it's not easy being green. It's not that easy. Why is that? The problem with sustainability is that it's really hard to grasp. If I would ask you in this room, how big is 1 ton of carbon? What will you think? Does it fill this room? Does it fill less than this room? And that's the problem. It's so hard to understand. What is 1 ton of carbon? Well, it's actually a cube, 8 meters times 8 meters, just 1 ton. And a birch tree needs about 80 years to transform this 1 ton of carbon back into oxygen. We have clients at Omnica Media Group that produce every single year 100,000 tons of carbon just through communication. They're not producing anything. They're not selling anything. They're simply talking about it. So let's look at the numbers. If we compare a per person worldwide consumption and production of carbon emissions with the average campaign in our business, so a media campaign, we do see that this is exceeding it. Everyone is talking about the aviation being the bad player in the game. Yes, it is computing 3% of our annual carbon emissions. However, the internet is 4%. Everyone is talking about driving as being the mean bad thing. Yeah, sure, driving consumes and produces a lot of carbon. But our daily life in digital and immersing in it is even more than that. And I think this is why we should be brave and consider for our general planning, not just attention, reach, brand, everything that is so in and cool and hip, but also ESG. And really make more conscious choices for more sustainability in our daily business. That's why we've created OMG Momentum, and with it comes an ecosystem of tools, but also a consultancy service and media solutions. We look into this from a macro and a micro level. So macro is everything about where you really look into your own perception and your competitor's perception. Sustainability can be a positioning if made right. So where do you stand? But also an ESG check from our media vendors. Whom are you working with? What is your supply chain? Have you ever asked and thought about if you are doing the same and smart choices as maybe others are doing? And last but not least, and this is something I really want to go more into detail today, is the whole part about the real calculation of carbon in your media planning, which you do every single day. How can you make more sustainable and conscious choices in your day-to-day planning? We've partnered up with Climate Partner. Climate Partner is a German company. They've been doing carbon calculations for over 15 years. They take into account Scope 1, 2, and 3. They are also a part of the UN Global Conduct and certified and available in 51 plus countries. And that's very important because there is a huge difference from country to country and needs to be taken into account. If you look into France, they use a lot of atom energy. Obviously, their energy mix is totally different to, for example, even Germany, where I'm from, where we still have a lot of gray energy. So this needs to be taken into account as well. And if I talk about Scope 1, 2, and 3, I might see a few question marks in your faces, like what does that mean for our business? So let's have a look. Scope 1 is everything that is linked to something that's happening in the back end. So asset production. Are you flying to South Africa for a TV spot? Is that necessary? All that goes into the calculation, as well as everything linking to post-production. Then we have Scope 2. That's everything linking to your own business, what you're doing. For example, where you storing and serving everything from your data points. How are you broadcasting your media? And then, of course, Scope 3 is end consumption. So are the end consumers using a mobile phone? Are they using a a TV, what are they consuming? Where does carbon emit on there? And I think in this whole process, you already see how extensive that is and in-depth that is. And yes, some of these things are assumptions. If you think about an out-of-home poster, obviously it has to travel from A to B. Is that yet now an electric vehicle or a diesel? We can't tell. But at least we are taking into account that it is traveling from A to B. And with this carbon calculation, we can precisely tell you how much impression you've gained. What does that mean in carbon? So in this example campaign I brought with you, we've reached 38 million contacts, and we've actually created 11 tons of carbon, like 11 times this big cube, just communication. And we can directly tell you how we've reached those impressions and what does that mean translated to carbon. And already here you can see in the different colors there are differences in medium. So if you're looking out of home, yes, I've said there's travel included. We have paper production. But with one poster, I can reach 20,000 contacts. So it's a one-to-many communication. Whereas if I look into TV, I assume that I'm reaching one contact with one TV. So obviously the emission is way higher than that. This is called the echo efficiency. So if a medium is reaching a lot of contacts and emitting small amount of carbon, that's a high echo efficiency, whereas the other case is a low echo efficiency. So this might be a tricky and complicated. So we've, of course, created a new KPI. It's called ERI, Emission Reach Indicator, and it describes the relationship between emitted carbon per 100,000 impressions. Think of it like a CPM, CPC kind of system, like how much cost one contact, how much emission are being emitted through reaching this one contact. To make a better understanding, and I think even if none of you are maybe a sustainability pro, just thinking logically, if you think about one-to-many, you kind of already get a ranking of those media. And especially when you think about radio, where you only produce sound, and you're not flying to South Africa or elsewhere, of course it has a higher echo efficiency than maybe a print ad. But of course, these will vary and refer between the country you're in. So still be careful and like looking and taking pictures of this. But I do want to give you an idea of just logically thinking about it, that there are different ways on how to measure echo efficiency. However, this is only looking at it at an ecological point of view. I mean, I see all your faces. I know what you're thinking. We can't compare an out-of-home contact with a TV contact. Of course we can't. So that's why we've created a new tool, so-called a scenario planner. Within that, we optimize media mixes according to classic KPIs, such as reach, brand, test drives, whatever it is. It's based on media mix modeling data, so we make sure we make efficient media planning. But on top of that, we layer a new layer called carbon KPIs, so green KPIs, carbon emissions, to make sure that we also find in the existing format the perfect choice. Because in the end, we could create the greenest campaign in media planning. If we're not reaching our target audience, we're producing and emitting carbon for no reason. So that can't be our option. So we still have to make efficient media planning, but within the framework that's given, finding ways to make sustainable choices. So within the media mix, we really do a deep dive analysis. So if you imagine you have a TV spot that runs 30 seconds, 10 weeks. If you say, let's just run the same spot 5 weeks, 30 seconds, 5 weeks, 25 seconds, my target audience already knows the spot. They know the message. But you'll be able to save 16% of carbon. So how can you make changes in the media mix itself? There will be limitations. I'm telling you, I have a client who's a luxury fashion client, and they say, my brand guideline says I want 2 pages in a magazine. That's it. I can tell them 10 times just 1 page would be more sustainable. Like, nope, that's my brand guideline. Okay, let's then look into the formats. Are they, for example, recycled paper in magazines that I can use a more sustainable format? Do you have maybe a PVC-free version of an out-of-home poster? So that's the same visual, it's the same media mix, it's the same location, but it's a more sustainable format and material. And if that is not an option, then the last option is, let's compare media vendors. If you have a similar target audience, but one media vendor is using green electricity or is offsetting, then why do not invest in this media vendor to also move on to this journey on more sustainable and conscious choices and go this way? So the last but not least, the partner choice is also important. One thing you will always hear in sustainability is the word supply chain. Look at the partners you're working with, consider your choices, and make a smart, conscious decision towards more sustainability also in your daily planning. Well, that was really theoretical. I feel it's always hard to show a real in-depth example of oh, so much slides. So I thought I'll bring one with me, and I would like to show you a bit what we've done with McDonald's, which really highlights the cooperation we've done where we're combining the messaging of sustainability with sustainable formats, sustainable planning, optimization, and the right media partner choice.
32% of plastic packaging ends up in our environment, and it takes hundreds of years for it to be degraded. Switching to sustainable packaging alternatives, McDonald's already avoided over 2,000 tons of plastic in Germany since 2019, an important step towards a plastic-free future. Yet only 1 in 7 perceive McDonald's as an environmentally conscious brand. And with distrust in fast food brand sustainability communications, just talking about it isn't enough. If we want people to think differently, we need to communicate differently and prove that at McDonald's, plastic kicks the bucket. With a campaign just as plastic-free as the packaging itself, even if it means that we sometimes violated the laws of media effectiveness. Print ads? Only in certified advertising media and on recycled and certified paper. Shorter online spots cause less emissions, so let's make them shorter. And as plastic-free and media-fast highlights, murals made from ecological wood in 2 of Germany's biggest cities featured an analog and therefore emission-free animation of the campaign motive, even using special photocatalytic paint to purify polluted air. The Eco-Optimized campaign let people think of McDonald's as a more sustainable brand and significantly improved brand sympathy, trust, and sincerity. But more importantly, we made an impact beyond brand KPIs. The usage of recycled paper reduced emissions by 15%. The wooden murals filtered as much air as 14,000 square meters of forestry per day. And the shorter video ads saved the amount of emissions which would be caused by a round-trip flight from LA to Cannes. And this is just the beginning. Head to betterm.mcdonalds.de to learn more about McDonald's sustainability actions in Germany.
So I think what you really see in this case is it's easy to implement small changes. It's all about quick wins in the beginning. Don't think of sustainability as this huge, giant elephant and you don't know how to touch it. There are simple ways to really save carbon in the process and just make conscious choices. Because what I think is really important is that you do not think of sustainability as a diet, something like, oh, we can't do this anymore, we can't do this anymore. No, it's about conscious choices. It's about challenging and the beliefs that we have currently and go away from our common sense of more is more, we always want more. No, and that doesn't work with sustainability. Sustainability is about using your resources efficiently. And then at the same time, you will realize that using your resources efficiently also equals economic value. Because with sustainability, you shouldn't ask yourself, what does it cost me today? You should ask yourself, what can I save in the future for investing in it now? So I do hope that you like this and have a few questions for me on this journey. Otherwise, I'll hand over to my lovely host.